Headlines crossing the terminal right now that Senator Richard Shelby, a Republican, telling Bloomberg that he met with the White House yesterday and said that they made a deal with Democrats with regard to Dodd-Frank and that they should keep that deal. But yesterday we heard from this Consumer Financial Protection Acting Director, Mick Mulvaney, testifying before your committee that the administration would support a more conservative version of the Dodd-Frank bill. So what is it?
Well, I'll let Director Mulvaney speak for himself. But the bottom line is the Senate has come together with a group of bipartisan bills. Well, the House has a group of bipartisan bills as well. And as the Wall Street Journal opined about 10 days ago, the House is not a potted plant. There is a reason that we have two different legislative bodies in Congress, and so we expect to negotiate with the Senate. I'm having discussions now, but there's a lot that we need to do. So I applaud what the Senate has done, but frankly, they touch about 15% of banking assets. They do very little for capital formation. Not to take away from the work product, but we have a number of bipartisan bills that we think would be quite helpful. For example, the Taylor Act from Congressman Tipton in Colorado would ensure that regulations are tailored to both the size and complexity of banks, because we know so many are just dying, withering under the complexity, weight, and cost of the regulatory burden.
One of the things I hear so frequently from folks up on Wall Street as well as on Main Street is when? What is the timeline here? Because it seems like both sides are really dug in right now. So when will Speaker Ryan take this up, or when will there be a compromise?
Well, again, discussions are taking place now between the Senate and the House, so I can't give you a firm timeline. So I'm very painfully aware that since Dodd-Frank was enacted, many banks have waited 8 years for relief, so I'm not indifferent as to getting them that relief soon. But I don't know when the next deregulation or actually right regulation bill will be able to move through Congress. So it's important that we do it right. And there's so many different provisions, particularly a number of bills that are in the vein of, say, the Jump Start or Business Startups Act. So again, there's a lot more that needs to be done on capital formation to ensure that, you know, the next Starbucks, the next Apple have an opportunity to be created. Bills like the HALOS Act, which allows angel investors greater access to investment opportunities.
Speaker Paul Ryan yesterday saying at his press conference that he wants to get rid of Dodd-Frank before his speakership ends. You've announced your retirement as well.
I dream about it every night.
So hopefully before November, though, is what we're gathering, before midterms.
Again, though, I don't want to oversell what we're doing. The bottom line is that although tax reform was able to pass with a simple majority in the Senate, most of these changes take a supermajority in the Senate. So the fate of these bills will depend upon, frankly, 8 or 9 moderate Senate Democrats. So as much as I wish this eviscerated Dodd-Frank like Elizabeth Warren claims it does, if I could believe 10% of what she claimed, I would be even more excited about the Senate bill. But that's not what this does. These are more modest, tailored provisions that will help capital formation, mainly help our community banks. I wish it did more. I'm trying to get it to do more. And so these negotiations are taking place as we speak.
Let me ask you one more question about Wells Fargo. There's been a report that the administration is still supporting the $1 billion fine, up to $1 billion fine on Wells Fargo. Director Mulvaney, I asked him about this yesterday. He can't comment on the ongoing investigation. Would you be supportive of that type of action? Do you think they need that penalty?
Well, a big penalty is certainly warranted here. I hope that the new management is trying to clean up the messes of the old management. The evidence I see is that they are, but it seems like every single day a new stone is unturned and something very vile crawls out. The bottom line is theft is theft, fraud is fraud. That happened on Wells Fargo's watch. They're responsible, and they need to be held accountable.